Good evening, councillors, staff, members of the public. Thank you for attending this council meeting. It is 5:30. I'd like to declare this meeting open. And in doing so, I would like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land, the Noongar Wadandi people, their continuing connection to land, waters and the community. We pay our respects to all members of the Aboriginal community and their cultures, and to elders past, present and emerging. Thank you. We do also have Councillor Yip joining us via Zoom, which has been approved. Can you hear us, Councillor Yip?
Yes, I can. Thank you.
Thank you. And then, of course, we have Councillor Stett, Councillor McCleary and Councillor Steele all on approved leave of absence. The rest of us are here. Councillors, we received one a declaration of interest. That's on the screen, and I believe there is one other declaration of interest. Mr. CEO. CEO has declared an interest in item 10.1.4, the CEO performance from 10.1.14, the CEO performance and review remuneration, financial interest. Are there any other declarations of interest? Thank you. Moving along. We haven't received any notices for public question time. Could I have somebody move the confirmation of the previous minutes from the last OCM? Thank you, Councillor Kozsek. Second, Councillor Giles. I'll put those in favour. That's carried. Thank you, Councillor. Thank you. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. And we have minutes there from the two advisory committees, the policy review and CEO performance review. Somebody happy to move those? Thank you, Councillor Kozsek as a seconder. Councillor Giles. I'll put those in favour, please indicate. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. And lastly, the minutes from the special council meeting on the 29th of August. Could have somebody move those? Thank you, Councillor Kozsek. Councillor Giles, thank you. Somebody happy to move those? All those in favour, please indicate. That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. We have received one deputation, councillors, in regards to item 10.4.1. We're happy to approve that, councillors. Please indicate. Thank you, Mr. Navarro. When we get to that item, we'll call you up and you'll have 10 minutes. Thank you. So, councillors, dealing with the agenda, I just have one note that I just want to make on the CEO performance review, which has to come out as the CEO has declared a financial interest, but there also has been a request for some comments on the confidential item. So, councillors, how I intend to deal with that item is we'll deal with that at the end of the agenda with the other confidential items on that. And again, obviously that recommendation or council decision will be read out. So at this stage, that will be dealt with in that format, and also coming out for discussion at this stage, we have item 10.1.8, which requires an absolute majority, 10.1.14, which requires an absolute majority, and as indicated, that will be dealt with at the end of the agenda. Item 10.4.1, which we have a deputation, and I do believe there was one more brought up by Councillor Yip on... Councillor Yip, which item did you raise again, sorry?
10.3.1, sorry.
The advocacy, yes, 10.3.1,
yes.
City of Bunbury's advocacy, that's coming out for discussion as well. And of course, the other confidential items will be dealt with as well. Any other items for discussion, councillors? If that's the case, somebody happy to move the remainder en bloc? Thank you, Councillor Andrew. Second, Councillor Turner. All those in favour, please indicate. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. And for those who are here who might have been for one of those items, any item that we won't be pulling out have been moved, carried as declared as the executive recommendation has been passed. So we move to item 10.1.8, which is the proposed City of Bunbury Bushfire Brigade local law, and this does require an absolute majority. Could I have somebody move this recommendation? Thank you, Councillor Smith. Is there a seconder? Councillor Giles. Is there likely to be any debate on this one, councillors? Thank you. I'll put that. Those in favour, please indicate. That's carried unanimously. Thank you very much. As I mentioned, we'll move 10.1.4 to the end. 10.3.1, the City of Bunbury advocacy priorities. Councillor Yep, did you bring this out to move it, or did you have a question?
I'll move it and speak to it if I can, please.
Sure, Councillor Yep. Thank you. As seconder, Councillor Andrew. Councillor Yep.
Thank you. This is the second part of this motion. We have discussed the first tranche or first phase of these advocacy pieces. As listed, the second one is the endorsement of a pilot project. Endorsement of this advocacy piece will show our community that we are committed to their economic and environmental wellbeing. I say economic because an artificial reef may produce surfable waves that could produce unbelievable tourism and economic benefit, as we've seen in the Surf Coast Victoria Economic Impact Study. I say environmental because an artificial reef may provide a solution to coastal erosion and protect our beloved beach, plus roads and houses. We've seen the CHAR map and the government's recommendation to build groins every 400 metres along the coast. The community does not want this, but what if we could produce an alternative? Artificial reefs are not a new idea. People have been talking about this in Bunbury since I was a kid. The council looked at a geotextile model in the early 2000s. In 2019, Don Punch fulfilled an election promise to do a feasibility study at BP. And recently from Waveco, we've seen an inflatable reef and a rock augmentation model. So by our council endorsing this, we show all levels of government and the private sector that we're serious about innovative solutions, the environment and our economic future. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Andrew.
Thank you, Mr Mayor, and thank you, Councillor Yip, who spoke on point 2. I'm just going to quickly touch on point 1, Mr Mayor. Last week, during the briefing, I raised a request for a change to one of the advocacy pieces, and I'm glad to see, thank you to the staff and the CEO for making that change now for advocacy for increased affordable housing options in the City of Bunbury. Mr Mayor, Council is well aware of the economic climate that we're in and the housing crisis that really all of Australia is now a part of. But with the multi-billion-dollar fund that the federal government has just put through, there are fantastic opportunities now to really work towards advocating for the city for increased housing stock. Increased housing is going to fix a lot of problems. Yes, unfortunately, there are many people who are without houses at the moment. You can drive around the streets at night and you're seeing a lot of people living in cars. I think it was the City of Coburn this week had some issues with moving on people who are living full-time in their vehicles along their beaches. It's not just a Bunbury problem, it's a statewide and a countrywide problem. We do have a local housing strategy and we do need funding and commitments from state governments for things like headworks and land release to really bring about a greater change. So advocating is the best mechanism that this local government has. One of the requests, Mr Mayor, is that as we advocate, we do also inform the community of our advocacy across all of these advocacy topics. Unfortunately, the general community sometimes thinks that we don't do anything. We just sit here, we raise our hand, we stand up, we sit down, and that's about it. But there's a lot of things that happen in the background, Mr Mayor, and I know yourself and the CEO and many other senior members are quite often out there in the community, talking to big business, talking to state government, over in Canberra, and doing fantastic advocacy work. We also need to make sure the community know we're doing it. So please support this item, members. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. Is there a speaker against? I'll put this item. Those in favour, please indicate. Those against? One against. That's carried. Thank you very much. 10.4.1. Mr. Navarro. Me to take that. Yep.
Okay. Good evening, councillors. I'm here to speak to the scheme amendment report in your agenda for the Red Mill store in Stirling Street. Canella, our planning consultant, with whom you are all familiar with, has presented for us before about this. Unfortunately, she's away this week. However, she's helped me prepare this short deputation, and I understand she's listening via the live stream. So my name's Greg Navarro. I've owned and lived in the Red Mill store for 20 years. I say I've owned and I've certainly lived there, but I'm more a custodian than an owner. The place was there long before I got there 20 years ago, and dates back to 1897, and it'll be long there after I'm gone, I'm sure. I'm also joined tonight by Megs Kopke, and she's my tenant and is presently operates the Red Mill store. We've been really pleased with the level of support for our idea, and we hope that all councillors agree and will support the officer recommendation to approve our scheme amendment. The large number of submissions in favour, including from people who live immediately around the store, has been overwhelmingly positive and in favour. Canella worked closely with the council officers to carefully shape the amendment and quite tight conditions that ensure any new use is small scale and well managed, appropriate in this location. Indeed, the amendment is simply creating a discretion. Any of the new uses proposed to require a development approval. And we hope, like the community, the council also finds this reassuring. The Red Mill is a beautiful old building, but it is only a modest space. It's not large. To me, this amendment will allow it to be reclaimed. It's important to me to keep the building in active use. People love going there. They love the vibe and just enjoy walking past it even. This not only helps me afford to preserve it, and it also means that Red Mill can remain at the heart of this neighbourhood, continuing to connect with people. Megs is also a motivated, wonderful tenant who has real passion for Bunbury and ambition to grow her existing small business at an appropriate scale in the Red Mill. This is something Bunbury needs, as I hope as councillors you see how positive her enthusiasm and willingness to pursue this truly is. And I hope you've had a chance to go and visit what she's doing down there, and it's got a lovely feel, and a credit to you, Megs. Our aim has been to inspire and generate a slightly more active, contemporary, inner urban regional style boutique use of this important heritage building. So we just thank you for the opportunity to present. Councillors, I hope you agree and will give your support to our amendment.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Noel, and welcome to Canella if you are listening out there. Councillors, we have an executive recommendation in front of us. Do I have a mover for that recommendation? Councillor Kozsek, seconder. Councillor Giles. Is there likely to be any debate, councillors? If If that's the case, I'm happy to put this recommendation. Those in favour, please indicate. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. That recommendation is approved. There are no applications for leave. There is a response there to the previous question taken from Councillor Andrew. Councillors, we do have these two items plus the earlier item to deal with behind closed doors. Could I have somebody move that we move behind closed doors? Councillor Andrew? Councillor Kozisek? I'll put that. Those in favour, please indicate. That's carried unanimously. Thank you. So members of the public, we are moving to items that are dealing with confidential matters. We'll ask you to leave at this stage. We'll come back to read any council decisions that are made at the end of that period. Thank you. Still a few? Go. You got those in front of me? Thanks. Oh, not this one. This is the lot of words. Thank you for the public who've returned, and sorry for the delay in this one. A few matters to deal with, and now I have to read them out publicly as part of the Act. So, while we're behind closed doors, councillors unanimously voted the recommendation there, which was the request for tender for the Leschenault Marine Wall renewal. That recommendation that was that the council approve the increase of budget for PR 5105, renew foreshore marine walls 2023-24 from 1.2 million up to 1.4 million, with the additional 200,000 reallocated from PR 4877, renew upgrade local road Strickland Street. Pursuant to RFT 2324016, Leschenault Marine Wall renewal, accept the tender from SMC Marine Proprietary Limited, with their ABN stated there, for the price of $787.97, excluding GST, subject to minor variations to be negotiated with accordance with Regulation 20 of the Local Government Regulations Act. 3, delegate power and authority to the CEO to negotiate and agree with SMC Marine Proprietary Limited, minor variations in accordance with the Reg 20 of FG regulations, subject to be sufficient funds available within the approved expenditure budget. Subject to resolutions 1 and 2, authorise the CEO to enter into a contract with SMC Marine Proprietary Limited to provide the Leschenault Marine Wall renewal. And 5, following entry into contract, negotiate variations with SMC Marine Proprietary Limited to the retrospective contract, subject to be sufficient funds within the approved budget expenditure for that project or line item. That required an absolute majority and was carried unanimously. The second item we dealt with is written here that this was moved by Councillor Yip, second by Councillor Kozisek, and that recommendation was that Council approve the legal representation costs as detailed with the confidential report, CRSC2, to the value of $3,000. That was carried 6 votes to 3, 5 votes to 3. Thank you. And the last item dealing with the CEO performance review, remuneration review from July 2020 to 2023. This recommendation was taken in 3 parts, moved by Councillor Andrews, seconded by Councillor Kozisek. That was that Council A note the appraisal of Mel Osborne, CEO, as completed for the period for July 2022 to June 2023. That item was carried unanimously. Point 2 was the endorsing by absolute majority of the findings of the summary report as presented by Price Consulting, confidential appendix 10.1.14a, and thanks Mr Osborne for his efforts. That was also carried unanimously. And item 3 was approving the retaining the CEO's TRP at 90% for Band 1 entities set by SAT for the 2023-24 financial year. That was carried with 8 votes to 1. 7 votes to 1. Thank you. Thank you for those for rejoining us. I will declare this meeting closed at 6:47. Thank you very much.